Happy lunch hour, gang. Okay. It's funny how the government, the media, everybody tries to keep the public as oblivious to what's going on in the world as possible so they can just pop surprises on us, right? Unfortunately, there's this little thing called the internet that allows all of us to scroll through the depths of the bowels of the internet and find out what's actually going on that the media doesn't want to tell you. You know, turn on CNN, turn on Fox, turn on MSNBC or whatever, and yeah, you can hear the latest on, what Taylor Swift is doing this week, or how, what happened to Caitlin Clark in her basketball game. All those important things that really make a difference in our lives. What they don't tell us is the important stuff that could really make a difference in our lives. Literally, when I say lives, I mean our survival. Okay. Maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't. On Saturday, the U.S. State Department started removing all the people from Lebanon. Okay. Hopefully they do a better job of getting our people out of Lebanon than they did getting our people out of Afghanistan. We'll start there. So what's going on? Well, obviously we knew something was going to start happening between Israel and Hezbollah. Okay. It's funny how a lot of the conversation is now about Hezbollah and not necessarily about Hamas, right? And Hamas is the one that started this mess. But no, so the U.S. is moving people out of Lebanon. A lot of other companies are moving people out of Lebanon. Did you notice what China did? China's instructed their citizens to leave Israel. That gets a little interesting. What do they know that we don't? Is there a bigger offensive coming from Hezbollah? I mean, they've been raining missiles on Israel like crazy. I mean, to the point where, hitting Haifa, hitting Nazareth, missile after missile. I mean, just volleys of missiles coming in from Lebanon. And, fortunately, Israel's got their Iron Dome that's shooting them out of the sky at $100,000 a pop. Okay. So what each one of those Iron Dome missiles cost, about 100 G's. All right. So you wonder how much money they're spending on this, or actually how much money probably we're spending on this. But that's another topic for another bitch about Mike Johnson conversation later. So you got that whole thing going on. What do they know that we don't? And then, of course, you have what's going on in Ukraine, which notice how the media is radio silent on this. We don't hear anything about Ukraine at all, except Zelensky was here picking up another check. Okay, so we got that done. And as I told you guys last week, they are sending or wanting to send U.S. missiles, long-range missiles, into Russia. Russia has basically said that will be a red line. And then, of course, we being the Joe Biden-backed Ukrainians, hit either a missile factory or their distribution system somehow that the Russians are working on these hypersonic missiles. Okay. Yeah, that would be an act of war. Interesting how this is coming out. So, here it is. We're in another war without Congress declaring war. It seems like that's been going on since World War II, because Korea was a police action. Vietnam was a police action. We never had wars declared in Iraq or Afghanistan or Kosovo or anywhere. It's amazing how we wind up in combat and never officially at war. Funny how that works, isn't it? But so what's going to happen? Now, if we take a look at the axis of evil, if you will, as Reagan coined it, it's now China, North Korea, Iran, Russia. Notice how they are all kind of allied with each other. So we have Iran fighting against Israel, who's one of our allies. Russia fighting against Ukraine, who's not one of our allies, but Joe launders too much money out of the country to not have to take care of it. And China's going, we're just going to wait for all of them to kill each other, and then we'll just come in and clean up the mess, right? Well, let's take a look at a couple of things. Let's start with this. The Washington Post, the Jeff Bezos-owned uber liberal Washington Post, and I'll link this below so you can go read it. Scarred by violence, lawmakers plan for possible mass casualty event. Interesting article, huh? Mass casualty event, what could that be? I don't know. Could that have something to do with the fact that we're in 2 freaking wars, and if Taiwan goes hot, we'll be in 3? Hello, Congress? Yeah, mass casualty events? Figure out what's going on. Stop feeding the beast. Stop giving them money, okay? Funny, watch how fast the war in Ukraine ends when Trump cuts the checks off, okay? Watch how fast the war in Israel ends when we turn our ships around and say, this ain't our fight, okay? Sure, I still support Israel in this whole thing, but at this point, they need to take care of themselves, and they are. We're not involved in it yet, okay? If it gets worse, if Iran comes into it, then we're going to be in the thick of things. So what happens? Does Iran have nuclear weapons? Nah, maybe not. We don't know for sure. But we know Russia does, okay? We know China does, and Iran's an ally. Gee, so do we just kind of ship some on down, put them on a train, and roll them on in? Or do we just shoot them off for Iran instead, right? Hey, no big deal. It's not like one country doesn't give other countries long-range missiles, right? Ever think of that? It's not, the United States isn't the only country that has a tendency to give armament away to other countries. But what happens when it comes to our backyard? Let's say that Joe does use some of our long-range missiles into Russia, which Russia's already said is a red line, do not cross. And we talk about nuclear weapons. We talk about mass casualty events. And all of us, being the studious preppers that we are, we know all too well, sorry, my nose itches. No, I'm not doing cocaine. All of us know the effects of an EMP. But do you really know how easy it would be to have a mass casualty event in the U.S. with 3? Take a look at this, okay? This is a map, hypothetically, if 3 nuclear missiles were detonated in the atmosphere at 106 miles above Las Vegas, Dallas, and Columbus. That's it. And you're looking at 90% of the country at least that now is EMP'd, has no power, no nothing. So unless you live in the far northwestern reaches of Washington, or in North Dakota, maybe along the Canadian border in Maine, or you live in Miami, you're not going to have power. Now, obviously this graph there's going to be those people that say, no, it's not accurate or whatever. The point is to give you an idea of how easy that would be. 3 hypersonic missiles that could be to the United States in 15 minutes. Okay, that's the notification we're going to have, tops. Okay, you won't even know by the time it hits. I mean, you might get an emergency alert on your phone saying incoming missiles from Russia. And if you just happen to check your phone beeping, that it's not another Amber Alert or Silver Alert or whatever that go off nonstop anymore. And you look at it and go, oh, crap. This is what we need to watch for. Could this be the October surprise? Do the Democrats, does Joe Biden, does Kamala Harris say, and we've talked about this, and you guys have mentioned this countless times, do they get us into World War III before the election so that somehow they can declare martial law and cancel the election? Would you put it past them? I certainly wouldn't, because we know the Democrats have tried everything they can to keep Trump out of the White House, right? I mean, when impeachment didn't do it, they tried to indict him. When indictments didn't do it, they tried to assassinate him. Now you got, I showed you guys a month or so ago, Jamie Raskin saying we're going to disqualify him, whatever they're trying to do. I mean, 2 assassination attempts, guys. Okay. And we can all bet there's going to be a third one. Somehow, some way, they want to keep power, and they keep losing and losing and losing in the polls. Kamala Harris keeps sinking and sinking and sinking. And they know their time is up. They aren't going away. And if it comes down to the point where starting a war, starting World War III is their option, again, we go back to what I was saying yesterday. Them getting votes, them staying in power, is more important to them than the people, in this case, of the world are. Just think about that with everything that's going on. Why would China be pulling people out of Israel? What do they know? Why are we sending more troops to Israel while China's pulling theirs out? Okay, that's important. Why are we sending more money to Ukraine? Why are we threatening Russia with long-range missiles? Do we have a death wish? No. But the Democrat Party, the globalists, the deep state, the cabal, they know unless they do something, it will be their death. It will be their demise. And don't put anything past them. Your life means nothing to a Democrat. Nothing at all. They would happily put you in front of a ditch and pull a trigger if it meant them staying in power. That's what's going on. As I said this morning, there were 2 big stories I wanted to talk about, the hurricane and this. This is the other one. And go look and see what the UN has been doing lately on taking over countries. This is happening right under our nose, guys. The media won't report it. The media doesn't want you to know. They want you to be oblivious to this. The problem is, keeping you oblivious means we go into oblivion. That's what's up. And it's about time people start realizing it. They want a war bad because it's the only thing they got left.